Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our show, My Story, Very Normal People. So, today in our show, we have a writer, an author. Her name is Nicole, and she's from Florida. Oh, the nicest place in US at the moment. So, welcome, Nicole, in our show.
Thank you so much for having me, author. I'm happy to be here.
So, Nicole, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Nicole Fanning. I am an author and writer, and I am a smitten dog mom, or a smitten wife and a dog mom as well. I guess I'm a smitten dog mom too, of three rescue dogs. And I am a classically trained singer, but I just really enjoy writing, and it's always been a passion for me since I was about 10. So, yeah, that's me.
So, how many books have you written up to now, Nicole?
So I am on the third book of a 4-book series. So I have published 2, Catalyst and Ignite, the first and second books in the series. And I am working on Flashpoint, which is the third.
So tell us a little bit about your book.
So my story is a classic thriller romance where you have a dangerous, like, billionaire mafia don who kind of moonlights as this normal businessman, but in the shadows, he's running the city of Chicago. And he's also a hotelier, so he owns a chain of luxury hotels in Chicago. And then we also have our heroine, who is Natalie, and she is a critical care nurse from Miami. And she is coming to Chicago for her cousin's wedding and staying in one of our dangerous mafia don's hotels. And, she's arriving. It's a little bit chaotic because she's been nervous to come to this wedding because her ex-fiance also happens to be the groom's best man. So the cousin who's getting married, he's the best man in that wedding. And Natalie ends up, like, her first, 30 minutes in Chicago, she stops a kidnapping attempt of Jackson's 6-year-old daughter. And that kind of puts her in the path of this mafia don who comes from this world of, everybody does something for a reason. So he doesn't really understand why this person would do something that's just, in her mind, the right thing to do for him. And so they're from completely different worlds, but they're both kind of looking for something. And it's just the adventure that they go on. And, he obviously lives this dangerous life. So there's a lot of, like, bad things and bad people that happen around him. And, she's now caught up in all this and he's falling for her. And it's just a really beautiful story that, kind of teaches us that when you meet the right person, it's almost as if their broken parts and your broken parts, like, put each other back together again. So
do you have any connection with mafia?
I have gotten this question so much, simply because, like, when I wrote this series, I'm a researcher. I do my research. And I actually have Jackson as a member of the Greek mafia, because when everybody hears mafia, they hear, like, Sicilian mafia, Italian mafia. But what they don't understand is that on a global scale, there's all kinds of these underground crime organizations that exist. And, they're a big portion of, like, society to a point, and you don't even know that they're there. So no, I personally have not been involved in the mafia, maybe if my FBI agent is listening. But I have done a lot of research and a lot of firsthand accounts of people who were either in the mafia or that they knew someone or were related to someone who was in the mafia. So their accounts are a little bit more accurate versus, like, what we see in, like, Hollywood. So, yeah. But I've gotten that question a lot.
So, would you like your book to be a movie in one moment?
I would love for my book to become a movie. Very influential in the story, and I think it would be so beautiful to get to cast Jackson. I think I would just sign up just for that part. But yeah, I'd love to see that, for it to become mainstream or to become a movie or a series. That would be great. Like, bucket list item, great.
Uh, what do you do during a normal day?
So, like my writing process, when I sat down to write this, because obviously I have it becoming a 4-book series, so I have like a big plan. What I did first was I mapped out the plot and like what I specifically wanted to see with that. And then I mapped the plot for each of the 4 books as well. And then I wrote 122 pages of character backstory because, you have your 2 main characters, and then you also have this whole slew of side characters that are really important and become important in future books. So each of them like has a backstory and their own voice. And so I did all that kind of work first on top of like research. But my normal day typically involves, at least 6 to 10 hours of writing. Because I'm a person who believes that you can avoid writer's block if you just have a dedicated writing habit. So if you know that every day, and maybe you don't have 6 to 10 hours to dedicate to writing, but maybe you dedicate 2 to 3 hours every day, or even an hour, but just something where you're sitting down every day and you're going through the motions of putting your time and effort into your creation. I think that it's a great way to avoid writer's block. And so for me, I typically start out with obviously my coffee in the morning. And then, 6 to 10 hours of writing. And, sometimes my husband comes in and checks on me and is like, hey, do you want anything to eat? Maybe
You're
it's time
still
to go for a
alive?
walk.
No mafia around here?
No mafia around here, no. So yeah, when he gets back from his day job of cracking skulls, or no, I'm just kidding, he's not in the mafia. But yeah, no, typically I spend 6 to 10 hours writing, and or kind of like editing and re-editing what I've already written. But yeah, there's a lot going on with this 3rd book, and there's even more going on with the 4th book because it'll be the conclusion. So, but yeah, it's just every day making that time to put the effort into it is something that's really important.
So, on the first and the second book that you already uh, published, so do you think your message was clear to the reader?
Yeah, so I do. I don't try to use my platform to spout my personal beliefs on anything. But I do think that as an author on trying to be a global scale, you have a responsibility in the story that you tell and the messages that you send. So in my story, the way that I kind of have the mafia set up is that Jackson works with the local governments to keep a certain level of crime, only because like if suddenly tomorrow all of the criminals were off the streets, there was no crime, we would have a lot less need for our police or for the programs that those criminals are a part of. So there, it's like kind of checks and balances, like predator and prey. So that's kind of how I have it set up, where like he works, like the mayor and the people of the city officials, they know about him and they work with him to keep that level of crime. But in Jackson's mind, there are much worse men that would do much worse things if he wasn't the one in charge of everything. So he's kind of like the last line of defense, keeping the city of Chicago from descending into chaos. But there are subtle messages through there, even like with their relationship, because they do go through some hard stuff, especially in book 2, with like, a pregnancy loss and things like that, where it tells the story of what a healthy relationship, what that looks like, when you have a partner that does support you through whatever, and that, she's understanding that he's going to grieve the loss of his child in a different way than she is, because, it was physical and mental for her, and emotional. But so there's like subtle little messages kind of like throughout the book, but I don't try to be too preachy. I just try to give readers that escape through fiction. But also, do try to be responsible in the messages we send. So, we don't have a lot of mafia romances, especially, have this concept of like non-consent, where like, oh, he's the big bad Don and he's just going to force her and then like she's going to like it. And it becomes like this Stockholm syndrome situation And I really hated that because I was like, this is not good. Like, like of course, yeah, it's you know, women think about that, but it's not what is a healthy outlook on relationships or love. So what I told in my love story with Jackson, it is consent. It's really just two people from two different worlds falling for each other and what that cataclysmic situation looks like when that happens. So consent is involved. He woos her the old fashioned way. You know, he kind of starts off as a jerk and then, you know, immediately realizes like, wow, she's just a really good person. Like that's why she saved my kid. And she's kind of like, all right, well, you know, maybe he's a little hardened because he's used to this world that he lives in. So they each kind of like give each other a second chance. And when they do, they realize this like vulnerability in each other. So yeah, I do try to, again, like just give a good example of like what consent looks like, what a good relationship looks like, but try not to, again, be too preachy with my own personal beliefs on anything.
Mhm. That's very important. And nowadays it's a little bit difficult to express your everything because you just miss, let's say, audience. Sometimes you miss readers, yeah, because people
Yeah.
judge you without even going deeper on the matter. What you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting because when I first started as an author and a self-independent author, I made my own book covers and I, you know, I thought they were fine. I, you know, picked a good picture, whatever. But really like when I got feedback from you know, like readers or ARC readers, it was kind of like, look, the story's great, but I would not pick up this book right away because of the cover. So what we ended up doing was getting professional covers done that really told the story like right when you look at it, like, ooh, this is kind of a marriage of like romance and suspense. Um, so you're right. It's really easy to lose someone who judges a book by the cover if you're not careful in the message you send with your cover. So picking that message is really important. And then listening, because like, you know, as an author, like you put your heart and soul into this book and it's so important to you. It's your book baby. And when, you know, someone gives you feedback about your book baby that isn't so nice, it's the equivalent of someone telling you your baby is ugly. So you have to be able to take that and do something with it, you know. If Because to me I always felt like there's two types of authors. You either want to be seen or you want to be heard. If you just want to say, you know what, I, Nicole Fanning, want to write a book, publish it, have it fancy, sitting on my shelf, and that's it, that's one thing. That's being, you know, that's, I want to be seen. But being heard is when someone picks up that book, devours that book, hears what you're saying, connects with the characters. You know, they think about those characters, they dream about those characters. And getting that kind of feedback from my fans of like, hey, thank you so much, but I've been dreaming about Jackson for like 3 weeks and I'd like to stop, has been like the best feedback I've gotten as an author. Because I wanted it to be heard. I wanted it to be the Netflix series, to be the movie. You know, I want like that shoot for the stars kind of thing. Um, so yeah, you have to be careful in like how it looks, but you also have to be willing to take feedback when you get it and do something about it. So thank you for telling me my baby's ugly. Maybe I'll cut its hair. That kind of thing.
So you're a mafia person, so you know how to do that.
I do. I do. Yeah, I know people.
Yeah. You don't have to touch it with your hands, right?
Not too much. No, 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 no.
So, what is going to be the end of the book? Happy, drum, what are you going to put in the end?
I have promised my fans that it will be a happily ever after. Um, However, as they know from book two, there will be some heartbreak. So it's going to get harder before it gets easier for people. So there will be a happily ever after, but I do intend to pull on those heartstrings as much as I can, but it will be a happily ever after for our couple.
Okay. So, do you want to share something else? Because I have no other question for you unless you have something to say to our audience.
Oh, no, I can just let them know where they can find me or my
Yeah,
books.
I will
Um,
write everything that about you and your book. So you will write to me, so I'll write in the video so people can follow and find you, your book.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll do
Yeah,
that.
so I'm on Amazon. You can find me in paperback on Amazon. I'm also on Kindle, and if you are a Kindle Unlimited member, it is free. So yeah, you can read it there. And there is soon to be hardcovers coming out too, which I'm really excited about. But I'm just really picky. So what I've seen so far, I haven't liked, but I found someone finally that's going to do a good job. So there will be hardcovers eventually. There'll be merch. And you can find all that stuff at my website, which is the letter N, herownwords.com. So nherownwords.com.
Mhm. So we got from your book. Now I want something from you, something
Abs-
that you have it to share with our audience. Let's say your goals or your ideal that you have, something that pushes you every day in your life.
Yeah. So my aunt who passed away a few years ago, I was very, very close to her, and she was a critical care nurse. And I just saw this amazing wife and mother while also being this amazing nurse. And so my books are kind of a tribute to her, as well as my stepmom, who has been a massive influence in my life and kind of shown me through the process that you can love someone else's child as your own. And so what I have Natalie becoming in the book series is that she ends up becoming a stepmom to Jackson's daughter. And I really wanted to give that tribute both to like that amazing badass female, as well as like that nurturing motherly figure that isn't necessarily always blood, but it can come from someone who's just willing to put the time in to be that figure for someone. So, yeah, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to tell my story through fiction and to be able to share those tributes and things like that, as well as, give the picture of the, sexy mafia don that can learn and adapt and show that all of us are capable of change as well.
Thank you very much, Nicole. I hope to have you. We hope to have you in our show with the third and also with the fourth.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Arthur. It was a pleasure.